Hello everyone, welcome back. So as you know, we are discussing with RBI Grade B Officers Examination Phase 2. So in this video, we'll be carrying on with question number 61. In the previous video, the previous questions have been discussed. So let's begin with question number 61. Let me read out the question for you. Why does India have a low proportion of workers to total population? Firstly, due to high unemployment. Number 2, due to lack of data on the actual number of workers. Number 3, which is due to occupation of about 1/3 of population in self-employment. Number 4, low participation of women in work. And number 5, which is all of the above. So let's discuss. India has rather a low proportion of workers of total population, mainly due to low participation of women in the workforce. It has a very low sex ratio in its labor force, around 28% as compared to 40% in the world. So accordingly, if women participation in the labor force or in the workforce increases, then only we can see that a higher proportion of workers to total population have been increased. That is, there we can find a significant rise to it. So the correct answer to this is option number 4, that is low participation of women in work. Moving on to question number 62. Which of the following statements regarding India's workforce is or are not correct? A little more than 50% of workers are educated. The average years of schooling of workers is absolutely low. As in most of the developing countries, the open rate of unemployment is quite high. Number 4, agriculture still counts for more than 50% of the total workforce. And number 5, which is all of the above. So discussing this, the correct answer to this is number 3. That is, as in the most developing countries, the open rate of unemployment is quite high. Now let's discuss why am I saying option number 3 to be the correct answer. As in most developing countries, the open rate of unemployment is quite low. It is around 2.5% on the basis of the UPSS, that is usual, principal and subsidiary status. Even using the most comprehensive measure of unemployment, CDS, which takes into account the work performed on daily basis, the rate of unemployment goes only up to around 8% of the total. So therefore, I will say option 3 is the correct one. That is, as most of the developing countries, in most of the developing countries, the open rate of unemployment is quite high. So let's mark this. Next, moving on to question number 63. Question number 63. Consider the following statements regarding the features of the structure of employment prevailing in India. A. Regular wage employment constitutes more than 1/3 of the total employment. B. More than half of the regular wage employment is formal. And number C. More than 2/3 of the employment is in the unorganized sector and less than 1/3 in the organized sector. So these are the 3 options we have, based on which we have to choose the correct codes. Okay. So accordingly, we have both A and B, only C, both B and C, only B, or all of the above. Going to the details discussion of question number 63. In India, regular wage employment constitutes less than 1/5 of the total employment. Not only that, moreover, more than half of the regular wage employment is informal, either in the organized sector or even in the unorganized sector. A little over than 1/3 of the workers is a casual workers, and close to half are self-employed. So this contributes our answer in making only the third option to be the correct. That is, more than 1/3 of the employment is in the unorganized sector and less than 1/3 is in the organized sector. That is only number 2. That is 2C is the correct answer. That is only number C. Next, moving on to question number 64. Which of the following cannot be termed as disconcerting features of employment growth in India in recent years? Employment growth has decelerated, that is the opposite of accelerated, that means down. Employment content of growth has shown a decline. Sectors with lesser employment potential have registered relatively lesser growth. Agriculture continues to be the largest employer, or number 5, which is none of these. For this question number 64, the correct answer will be option number 3. That is, sectors with lesser employment potentially have registered relatively lesser growth. Now coming to the discussion of this. Why? Firstly, employment growth has been decelerated. Yes, that's very true. Second, employment content of growth has shown a decline. That is shown quite a downfall. Sectors with higher employment potential have registered relatively slower growth or lower growth we can consider. The fourth factor is agriculture, despite a sharp decline in its importance in GDP, that is the gross domestic product, continues to be the largest employer as the non-agricultural sectors have not generated enough employment to have a shift from employment or have a shift of workforce. And fifth point, most of the employment growth has been contributed by the unorganized or the informal sector. So in that case, we will be choosing this option number 3 to be the correct answer. That is for question number 64, option 3, that is sectors with lesser employment potential have registered relatively lesser growth. Okay. Next, moving on to question number 65. Employment in the unorganized sector carries which of the following benefits? Social security, other non-wage benefits, regularity of job, determination of wages by collective bargaining, and number 5 is all of the above. So, employment in the organized sector carries the benefits of social security and other non-wage benefits. We all know that. Jobs are regular and wages, or if we consider salaries, are determined by collective bargaining and government regulations. Consequently, wage or salary in this sector is much higher than in the unorganized sector. So then we will consider all of these options to be correct. That is, they have social security, they have other non-wage benefits, regularity of job, determining of wages by collective bargaining. So all of the above is correct. That is option number 5. Next, moving on to question number 66. Which of the following statements are correct regarding employment trends in India? A. Employment growth has been declining reciprocally to the decline in GDP growth rate. A large part of growth of unemployment simply indicates growth in labor force. And number C, the employment growth rates have varied across various sectors and activities. We have a collection of combinations for this, that is both B and C, only A, both A and B, only C, or both A and C. Right? So here I will say A is false and B and C are correct. That is, a large part of the growth of unemployment simply indicates growth in labor force, and the employment growth rates have varied across various sectors and activities. It is actually intriguing that over the years, the decline in employment is accelerating in the rate of economic growth. Thus, when GDP grew at 4.7% per annum during 1972 to 1973 to 1983, employment growth was 2.4%. GDP growth increased to 5%, but talking of the employment rate, employment growth again declined to 2% during 1983 to 1993 to 1994. During 1993-94 or 2004-5, GDP growth accelerated to 6.3%. But again, talking of employment growth, it further declined to 1.8%. And during 2004 to 5 or 2009 to 10, when GDP growth was as high as 9%, employment grew at an insignificant rate of 0.22%. So, which is very insignificant. So, accordingly, both B and C is the correct answer. That is option number 1. So, we mark it as option number 1. Next, moving on to question number 67. Which of the following statements regarding the growth of employment in the primary sector is or are correct? It has turned negative in recent years. It has been the lowest among all sectors. It has registered the sharpest decline among all sectors, only 1 and 3, or all of the above. So I will say the answer to this is all of the above. Why? Because first let's mark this answer. This is all of the above. Yes. Why am I saying answer 67th option will be all of the above is growth of employment in the primary sector as expected has been quite lower or has been the lowest and seen the sharpest decline. I just told you about the figures or the employment rates. It has in fact turned negative in the recent years. Slow and declining growth of employment in agriculture is the result of both slow and a declining rate of GDP growth and a decline in the employment elasticity as well. So in that scenario, I have considered all of the above to be true. That is, it has turned negative in recent years. It has been the lowest among all sectors, and it has seen sharp decline. So next, moving on to question number 68. Which of the following explains decline in public sector employment since liberalization of Indian economy? Downsizing the government. Number 2, reduction in overstaffing of public enterprises. Withdrawal of government from commercial activities. Only 1 and 2 or all of the above. So which one will be the correct answer? First, let's go to a thorough discussion. A decline in public sector employment is a policy-induced phenomenon propelled by the reforms towards economic liberalization, which not only does this, but also leads to measures like downsizing the government or reduction in overstaffing of public enterprises and also withdrawal of government from commercial activities. So accordingly, I will say all of the answers are correct. That is downsizing the government, reduction in overstaffing, and withdrawal of government from the commercial activities. So accordingly, our option number 5 is the correct answer, which is all of the above. All of the above. Next, moving on to question number 69. Which of the following statements is or are correct with reference to wage employment programs? They push up demand for labor. They exert an upward pressure to the market wage rates. They increase supply of cheap labor. Only 1 and 2 or all of the above, which will be the correct answer. So they push up demand for labor, that is true, and they exert an upward pressure on the market wage rate. So that is also considered to be true. Now for this question, which is question number 69, let's have a discussion. Wage employment programs also push up the demand for labor, and thus they always exert an upward pressure on the market wage rates. How? By attracting people to public work programs. Thereby, what does this help in? Reducing the supply of cheap labor, often at wages that would not even meet their basic needs. So that is why I am considering option number 4 to be correct. That is 1 and 2 are correct. Okay, which is option number 4. Moving on to the next question, question number 70. Which of the following is or are the features of National Rural Employment Guarantee Act? It has been envisaged from the perspective of right to live. It guarantees 100 days employment at a minimum fixed wage rate. Apart from creation of work opportunities, the Act also provides the basic facilities at the work site, namely creche, safe drinking water, and medical aid. Only 2 and 3 or all of the above. So it has been envisaged from the perspective of right to living is wrong. It guarantees 100 days employment at a minimum fixed wage rate is correct. Apart from creation of work opportunities, the Act also provides for basic facilities at the work site, that is creche for children, safe drinking water, and medical aid. So I will consider 2 and 3 to be the correct options. This was the National Rural Employment Guarantee has been coming not from the Right to Live Act, basically, it's coming from the perspective of right to employment. Okay, so that is why if the option was right to employment, then the option would have been correct, but right to live is not the correct option for this. So accordingly, 2 and 3 are the correct answers. So I will be marking option number 4 as the correct answer. Why? Because it says only 2 and 3. So option number 4 is the correct answer to question number 70. So then we have discussed up till question number 70 in this video. I hope you have understood well enough and you don't have any doubts or any issues regarding this. It has been clearly explained and all the explanations have been given thoroughly enough. So keep watching for the next videos for the upcoming questions. So all the best for your exam. Keep watching and thank you.